Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. The other day I posted an unboxing video for a mystery box from a company called WePrintMiniatures.com. These mystery boxes retail for $9.95 plus postage, and you get 3 printed resin miniatures, and being a mystery box you don't know exactly what you're going to get. The miniatures you see here are the ones that I received in that box. There was this sort of steampunk circus performer character, which was my favourite from the bunch. There was this Wild West or Weird West lady with double shotguns. And there was this female fantasy football player dressed like a squid for some reason. In my review I said the sculpts are really nice and the printing quality is very good. These are advertised as 32mm, but I felt they were a little bit oversized for 32mm, but not enough to really worry about. But my biggest issue was that the selection of miniatures I got were all quite niche subject topics. There was steampunk, Weird West, and fantasy football. There was nothing that was particularly easy to plug into regular fantasy or science fiction scenarios, nothing that I could easily grab and use in Dungeons and Dragons, or anything like that. But of course that is the nature of a mystery box. You get what you get, and you get a good discount over the retail prices to compensate for that fact. And while I might have been disappointed that I received miniatures that weren't easy for me to use in Dungeons and Dragons and Rangers of Shadowdeep, other people may have liked them because they were really varied, they were interesting painting projects, or because they do play steampunk or Weird West or post-apocalyptic games. So I sort of left it at that. But I started to receive emails from the company We Print Miniatures. I received, I think, 3 emails asking me if I would share some feedback. So once I got the 3rd email, I thought, well, okay, I will respond and I will share that information that I thought the miniatures were great, but I felt that the miniatures in the selection were all a little bit too niche. The company actually responded, which I didn't expect them to do. They apologised that I was a little bit disappointed, but obviously reiterated the fact that it is a mystery box and you get what you get. They did mention the possibility down the road of doing themed boxes for this, and I think that would be a really good idea. I think if you could go to their website and order a fantasy mystery box or a science fiction mystery box, that would help a lot. But regardless, again, I didn't think anything more of it until a little while later I received an automated email from WePrintMiniatures.com to say that they had dispatched a 2nd mystery box to me. They never said they were going to do this, they just did it, and looking at some of the comments on Facebook about this company, they seem to have exceptionally good customer service. If you are unhappy with your order, if anything is broken, they seem to go out of their way to put it right. I wasn't expecting them to replace my mystery box or send me extra miniatures. I was just giving some feedback that I thought they might be able to use going forward to help them with how they construct their mystery boxes, yet they chose to actually send me another mystery box. And We Print Miniatures is a relatively new company, and I hope that they aren't going too far with their customer care. It is possible sometimes to bend over backwards too far and actually break your spine. I hope they don't find themselves losing out because they are trying too hard to keep everybody happy. Regardless, today I received a new mystery box with 3 new miniatures, so we're going to take a look at those miniatures, we're going to look at them as individual entities and the quality of them, and then I will give again my overview of this mystery box purchase. And if you decide you would like to order one yourself, I will put the link to the company in the video description below. So this was the first of our miniatures, and again, it is a post-apocalyptic Wild West, Weird West character. This one I like a lot more than the previous one. I thought that the double shotgun motif of the previous character was a little bit too much, and I wasn't fond of her outfit. This character seems to be wearing a much more sensible outfit and has single rifle over her shoulder, knife, backpack, medkit, ammo crate, something. She has her mask over her face, and overall, I think it feels like a more sensible miniature. The other one looked a little bit more comedic or a little bit more anime. This one looks a little bit more like something you might see in a Fallout wasteland somewhere. If we compare her to her sister here, you can see there is a slight stylistic difference between the two, and also this one seems a little bit smaller in scale, a little bit more in the 32mm scale that you would expect. If we compare her to a few other miniatures from my collection, we can see that she stands much taller than this pre-painted 28mm Dungeons & Dragons figure. She's taller than this Draugr miniature, which is also supposed to be 32mm, although of course his legs are bent and he is also a shriveled up corpse. And she is big enough and tough enough to look Slambo in the eye. You're not so tough, Slambo. She does stand about 36mm to eye height, so still pretty tall, and all of these miniatures, I should point out, come on 32mm bases as well. Here is our second miniature. It's a small girl with a big sword. I immediately thought of the film Sucker Punch when I saw this miniature, which is I guess a shame, because I thought Sucker Punch was a bad film, but I think this is probably where the influence for this character comes from. She's sort of wearing armor, but then a tutu mini skirt type thing. She has the high heel boots on. A nice sculpt again, good detail. I'm not sure it's quite as crisp as the other ones, and you can just very faintly see some striations in the sword blade there from the printing, which you can't really see so much on the other miniatures that I've had from this company. She stands a little bit shorter than some of the other characters we've seen, at about 28mm to eye height, but she is still supposed to be 32mm scale, and I think still is quite on the big side. You can see her standing next to a Dungeons & Dragons pre-painted 28mm figure. She is taller than that, and is comparable to our 32mm Draugr. The third miniature in the box is the winner for me, and it's because it's a werewolf. It is actually a fantasy football player werewolf. You can see he's got the number 9 pad on his knee there. He doesn't have a ball in his hand, which is good, because it does mean I can easily sand off that number there, and he will just be a regular werewolf, and I love werewolves, and this is a really nice looking one. Really good sculpt, really good detail. You can see that unlike the other miniatures that I've received from WePrint Miniatures, we still have all of the support bars in here. There's lots and lots of cleanup on this miniature that I haven't seen on any of the others. That's not the end of the world, that's easy enough to do, but it is weird that there's so much on this one compared to nothing at all on the others. He's actually only about 26mm to eye height, and really only just 32mm to the top of his head. He doesn't stand as tall as our 28mm Dungeons & Dragons character, but that is because of his stance with the bent legs, but actually looks a little bit wimpy compared to the Nolzur's werewolves that I have. And again, maybe a little small compared to our Draugr, but I think with a slightly built up base, a little bit of scenic basing to make him stand a little bit taller, he will look fine. So there we have our 6 miniatures, the 3 at the top from my newest box, the 3 at the bottom from my first box. All very nicely sculpted, and with the exception of the werewolf, all pretty clean and crisp, only a small amount of cleanup required to get going with the painting. I would say the second 3 that I received feel a little bit more in scale to the 32mm that they're advertised as. The first 3 seemed a little bit too big. But the big thing to note is that, again, look how similar the distribution is here. We have, in both sets, a fantasy football player, in both sets a Wild West character, and in both sets a sort of fantasy character, but not necessarily a straight Dungeons & Dragons type fantasy. We have the steampunk fantasy sci-fi character, and then we have the Alice Through the Looking Glass Sucker Punch anime type character. I do think the second set I received is more usable. I am going to keep all 3 of them because the werewolf's easy enough to use, and I don't have many young girl characters that I have miniatures for, so it's well worth keeping that one. And I do like the Wild West gunslinger character. I don't have a particular use for it at the moment, but I really like the miniature. From the first set, the only one I intend to keep is the circus performer. The other two I'm going to find new homes for. I do think for $9.95 you are getting good miniatures at a good price, but I think if you're hoping to get specific miniatures that you can plug into other game systems like Rangers of Shadow Deep, Dungeons and Dragons, the forthcoming Lasting Tales, Frostgrave, any other miniatures agnostic game, these mystery boxes may not be the best way to go because you seem to be getting a lot of more unusual things. But if you are a painter who is looking for some cool miniatures that you might not normally paint, or you're a collector and you really like a nice variety of miniatures in your collection, this could be the way to go. For me personally, I do think I may order from WePrint Miniatures again because I've been looking on their website and some of their miniatures are absolutely beautiful. They have a skeleton pirate, a LeChuck pirate, which I really do need to own because it's marvellous. And they also have some very cool fantasy characters which would be perfect for Rangers of Shadow Deep. So I can certainly see myself ordering individual miniatures from them again. However, I really can't see myself ordering another mystery box. I really have no use for fantasy football characters or Wild West characters, and those have turned up in 2 boxes so far. But if they were to start putting out themed boxes and it was possible to get a box that was just fantasy characters or just science fiction characters or just football characters, I think that would be fantastic. And I would even pay a little bit more than the $9.95 if it meant that I was definitely going to get characters in genres that I could use. The only other thing to reiterate is WePrint Miniatures do seem to be a really good company. They do seem to really care about their customers. They might go a little too heavy on the automated emails to get you to leave reviews and feedback, but I can appreciate that. They are a small new company and they're trying to get the word out. But that is it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.